Welcome back. I'm Brooke.
I'm Todd.
And this is Football Friday.
Cheers.
Okay, so this week we're going to be talking about women's football. I just dropped the pen. Okay, so excited?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's gonna be fun. It is Women's History Month, so I figured one of the episodes this month had to be about women's football.
Good.
And I have so many notes.
Yeah.
So this is all from the FA website.
Oh, good.
So yeah, because I looked at. Okay. I looked at like the Wikipedia page for women's football, but you'd have to go to like every single separate link to get information, and that would have taken a lot longer than the hour and a half it took me to do this.
Okay.
So, but there was also a lot of information on the FA website, so that was really interesting.
So what's the most interesting thing you found out?
Okay, oh boy. Actually, so probably the first note that I wrote, which is that Mary, Queen of Scots, who was the heir to the Scottish throne during the time of Queen Elizabeth I, she owned the oldest football in existence, or so it's claimed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so also, some of my notes there are just like a couple of things that aren't like starting from where it starts back in history, but a poem by Sir Philip Sidney, which was written in 1580, refers to women playing.
Yep.
And it's written in Old English, but I think I understand what it means. A time there is for all, my mother often says, when she with skirts tucked very high with girls at football plays.
Cool.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. I can't remember the name of the poem. I don't know why I closed the notebook like that. Okay.
Something to do.
Yeah. So according to the FA, the standard set of rules were codified to make the game less violent so as to make it more acceptable for women to play.
Okay, so women can't play violent football.
Apparently. I mean, there's a whole section of that, of of the FA and rules with women's football. So the first recorded women's football match was in 1881.
Okay, I am a little younger than that, so I was not there.
So it was when a Scotland women's team played England.
Okay.
That's very specific because the birthplace and nationalities were called into question, and it's thought that some of the players were from the theater community acting out the game.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting, just because that's kind of funny. It's almost like, it's kind of like in Commedia dell'arte, there's like characters that make fun of like people in real life and all that, and so it's kind of like, oh, they're making fun of the men like for playing, or like Cakewalk, which was the slaves making fun of the white owners. But the funny thing about Cakewalk is that the white owners didn't even realize that they were being made fun of, and they made it into competitions.
Oh, okay.
So that was, yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I was kind of curious about, but now I've forgotten what I was kind of curious about.
Okay. Sorry.
But yeah, so that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, you might want to have the microphone a little closer.
Oh, do you think it's not recording well?
I mean, it probably is. It just picks up better if it's closer.
Okay.
Anyway, okay, so these teams that I just talked about with the England and Scotland, these teams played a few games, two of which were abandoned because of pitch invasions, which was not explained on the website. It just said they were abandoned because of pitch invasions, and one of those, I think they had to, like, run away in horse carriages.
Okay.
So that's all it said. It didn't explain. Don't know what that means.
Okay.
So
that's a little bit of homework for us, is to find out what a pitch invasion is.
I suppose. So in the first match, Lily St. Clair scored in front of about 2,000 people, becoming the first recorded female scorer. Scotland won 2-0.
Okay. So I take it she was Scottish.
Yes.
unless it was unless it was own goal.
Or, I mean, she might not have been Scottish.
Okay.
Because they said they don't know if they were Scottish or English, if they were actors. And I'm pretty sure, I actually have heard of Lily St. Clair as an actress, but I'm not 100% on that, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
So she was maybe acting like she scored a goal, and maybe the keeper was acting like she let it by. I don't know. I
mean, that's what, like, it's not completely fully known about the whole... these games and all that. So, in the 1890s, women's club football gained momentum. Some teams were formed by women factory workers. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Which, by the way, all of this is in England, because I was going to be like, oh, like, you know, the Lowell Mill girls, but that's in Massachusetts, so. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, the British Ladies Football Club, or BLFC, was formed in London in 1895. Mm-hmm. The president of the club, Lady Florence Dixie, insisted that women wore practical clothes, including bloomers, shin pads, and practical boots. Okay. Yeah, just so it would be easier for them to run around and, you know, play the game.
Okay. So, I'm wondering, though, while they were actors, if they were acting like some of the guys at the time, or even back then, would the guys have been flopping all over the place and acting like they got fouled? Or because it was such a violent sport, they didn't have to act and they actually did get...
I don't know. There wasn't, like, much information other than what it said, like, oh, they may have been actors. It didn't explain that very much. Okay. So there might not be information on that.
That's okay. We'll just assume that the women were making fun of the men and acting like flopping around when they weren't really. So.
Yeah. Okay. Where am I? So in 1895, the BLFC staged a game in which 10,000 plus spectators showed up, bringing attention to the growing women's rights movement. Oh, good. Yeah. So women's football grew during World War I because of women taking on men's jobs, and they were encouraged to participate in sports for health and well-being, as well as to aid morale and productivity.
I'm good.
By 1921, there were approximately 150 women's football clubs. Matches were popular and could draw up to 45,000 fans.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. A lot. Which is because, like, if you see, we were watching a Real Madrid match for the women's team, and they probably didn't even have 2,000 people there, which was like the first game. Yeah. 2,000 people there, which is very sad. Yeah. So, okay. However, after World War I, women began to return to domestic life as factories closed. Some people began to question whether football was damaging to women's health. You know, like how back in the day, they thought that women's uteruses would fly out of them if they rode the train. Okay. Yeah, that kind of doctor medical advice was what they said it was damaging women's health. Okay. Yeah. The FA banned women's football on professional pitches on December 5th, 1921. The FA stated, "The game of football is quite unsuitable for females and ought not to be encouraged."
All right, just, bad decision on their part.
Yeah. So for nearly 50 years, the women's game was sidelined, being played in public parks. Okay. Women were determined to continue playing, and about 30 teams across England met on December 10th, so approximately 5 days later, in 1921 in Liverpool to formalize the English Ladies Football Association, the ELFA. This lasted about a year. They had a knockout tournament, kind of like the FA Cup, and they only had one of those. And that's what it said, and then it never mentioned the ELFA again, so I assume that means that it only lasted 1 year. But women did continue to play football, but it was continually overshadowed by the men's game. Women's clubs continued to start up, such as the Manchester Corinthians Ladies FC, which was founded in 1949. This was probably the greatest football club of women's football club history. Oh, wow. They played at Fog Lane Park in Didsbury, which is outside, a suburb outside of Manchester. So, there are suburbs outside of DC that are DC, or, Yeah. So, Arlington is kind of a suburb outside of DC. Exactly. Yeah. Where am I? So the players had to clean themselves in a local duck pond since there was no running water in the changing rooms.
Okay.
Yeah, so this team was very successful. The Corinthians won an unofficial European Club Championship in Germany in 1957. And actually, something really interesting about that, the goalkeeper for Manchester City at the time was German, and he traveled with them to be their translator in Germany.
Oh, good.
That was something really cool that I saw.
So now you could translate. You could travel with teams and translate in Germany.
I think some of the people on the teams probably know better German than I do. So I think, yeah. The team won more than 50 trophies and raised over £275,000 for charity.
Oh, good.
Yeah, crazy. So then on November 1st, 1969, representatives from 44 clubs attended... Wait, I missed a page. No, I didn't. That doesn't... Wait. What did I miss? Okay, I feel like I missed something. Okay, I guess not. Okay. Anyway, so on November 1st, 1969, representatives from 44 clubs attended the first meeting of the Women's Football Association, or the WFA. On January 19th, 1970, the FA finally lifted the ban on women's football, kind of. However, women's football was still not able to be played on FA-affiliated pitches until the next annual general meeting on June 24th, 1971. So, basically, they lifted the resolution that said that women can't play football, but they still didn't let them play on the pitches that, like, professional pitches yet.
Until the next year.
Yeah.
When they had to have a meeting about it to see if it was still okay.
Yeah. So the FA Women's Cup was launched along with official league matches. In 1971, UEFA recommended the women's game should be governed by national associations. At the time, there were 32 across Europe. I should have phrased that differently. Okay. UEFA recommended the women's game should be governed by national associations across Europe, and at the time there were 32 of them.
32 national associations across Europe?
Gotcha. Yes.
Okay, good.
Or, well, there were 32, teams across Europe, I think. Yeah, okay. It was weird. It was weird on the website, too, so...
Okay.
It was written in British English.
Okay.
The FA recognized the Women's FA, or WFA, on February 29th, 1972. Mm-hmm. So, 3 years after it became a thing, it was finally recognized by the FA.
And only 50-some years after it was banned.
Yep. Just about, yep. 51 years. Yes. 72, yeah. So, women's football really began to grow in the 1990s. In 1991, the WFA launched a 24-club National League, which was then expanded the next year into 3 divisions of 10 teams. So the Premier League, the Division 1 North, and Division 1 South. Yeah. In 1993, the WFA no longer had the financial resources to develop the women's game, so they voted to pass its activities to the FA. The FA established a women's football committee.
Okay.
Yeah. So I still have a couple more notes, so... There's a lot here. In the 1993 and 1994 season, the WFA Cup was brought under control of the FA, in which 137 teams were entered. By the next year, the WFA's National League and League Cup were also managed by the FA, which saw the birth of the Women's Premier League, so FAWPL.
Okay.
So many acronyms there. Mm-hmm. Okay, even more acronyms. Here we go. In 1991, FIFA introduced the Women's World Cup as the women's game began to grow globally. At the WWC Finals, Women's World Cup Finals, because I, had to abbreviate that, in 1991, there was a crowd of 90,000 people.
Very good.
In the US of A.
Okay.
It was
I've heard of that acronym.
Yeah. In 2011, the Women's Super League, WSL, replaced the Women's Premier League National Division as the highest level of women's football in England. In 2017, it grew into the 2-division fully professional game that we see today that is played alongside the men's professional season. The top 3 teams qualified for the UEFA Women's Champions League.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so just a little bit more notes here, and then I've got some other stuff.
Yep.
In the U.S., the USWNT, U.S. Women's National Team, was formed in 1985, but the first professional soccer league, WUSA, was not founded until 2000. I wrote that wrong, but only lasted 3 years. Mm-hmm. Then there was the Women's Professional Soccer, WPS, which lasted from 2009 to 2011. And then following that, the National Women's Soccer League, NWSL, was founded in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I got.
And NWSL is still going today?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Going strong.
Good.
So, and then I wrote down some notable women's players.
Sure.
So a lot of them are from the U.S. women's team and England women's team, because those are the players that I know, kind of.
Yep.
And also some that I thought were really interesting. So for defenders, Carla Overbeck played for the U.S. women's team from 1988 to 2000. So she actually played with Mia Hamm. She attended UNC.
Yep.
I thought that's really cool. Did you know that?
A lot of the top women's players attended UNC.
Yeah, probably UNC or Stanford, right?
Yeah, UNC I think probably has won the most women's NCAA championships.
Ooh, interesting.
Would be my guess. They've won a lot.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I know that they have like one of the best programs in the U.S. and Stanford also has a really good soccer program. Another defender is Lucy Bronze for the English women's team. She started playing for the English women's team in 2013, and she still plays for them now. And she also attended UNC, but only for 1 year.
Okay.
And then now she plays... Oh, shoot. I already forgot where she plays.
Somewhere else?
She plays in England.
Okay.
So, yeah. So some midfielders are Kira Walsh for the England women's team. She started playing for the England women's team in 2017. She still plays now. And Mia Hamm, who it said midfielder and forward when I looked it up, but I put her under midfielder.
Yeah.
So she played for the U.S. women's team, and she played from 1987 to 2004. And she also went to UNC, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think she was probably one of the biggest names in women's football that everybody knew at the time. So
yeah, she was very famous. Did she also... Oh, wait, who is it that... One of these players... Oh, Carla Overbeck also is the... I think head coach for Duke's soccer program.
Could be.
She used to be the assistant coach, but I'm pretty sure I saw that she's the head coach now for Duke.
Okay.
Which that was also really cool.
Yeah.
So some forwards, Sam Kerr, she's Australian. She plays for the Australian women's team. She has played since 2009 to currently. She currently plays for Chelsea. I'd heard of her before, but I thought she was an England player. I think it's really cool that she's an Australian player.
Nice.
But I'm pretty sure Australia also has a really good women's team. But I don't know, I haven't seen them play. So, and then also Alex Morgan, who played, actually she just retired. She used to play for the U.S. women's team from 2010 to 2024. So, yeah. She just retired last year, like from professional football.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you said...
I said cool. No.
Okay, I thought you were going to say something else. Okay, and so some goalkeepers. Mary Earps, who plays for the England women's team from 2017 to present. She currently plays for PSG, so Paris Saint-Germain, which I think is also really cool.
Cool.
And then Hope Solo, who we talked about when we talked about goalkeepers.
We did.
She played for the U.S. women's team from 2000 to 2016.
Yep. Yeah, we've actually talked about a few of these players in our previous episodes, I think.
Yes, we have. I just wanted to pick some familiar players. There's a lot of really amazing women's players.
Yeah.
And
I was just thinking about, I think it's Megan Rapinoe.
Yes, is it Rapinoe or Rapinoe?
I think, I don't know 100%, but I heard Rapinoe on there.
Yeah, I almost put her down, but then I wanted to put a couple other players.
But I think she recently made her last international appearance. We were watching maybe last year.
Was it last year? I thought it was before that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think she was a pretty amazing player. So.
Yeah, she was really good. She's probably one of the best women's players in the world. Yeah, so that's all I've got here. So. Oh,
cool. So who is your absolute favorite women's player?
Absolute favorite?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've said this before, I'm a really big Chloe Kelly fan.
Okay.
Because I feel like she's so underrated and like underused.
Yeah. And
she's such a good player. Like when we watched the England women's team play the U.S. women's team in December, or it was like end of November, beginning of December, and she came on like at the very end, and I thought she was she like held her own. She was a really good player.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Who is your absolute favorite women's player?
I have to go with a non-professional.
Okay.
Probably my favorite has to be Erica Lippman-Lopez.
Oh, okay,
so,
gotcha. Yeah, makes sense.
She only played at the club level in college,
okay.
and played a lot of club soccer, but she was amazing. So
yeah. Okay, but if you had to pick a professional player,
I'd probably have to go with Mia Hamm because that's who.
Yeah. That's who you know.
Yeah. So good.
Okay, so. I feel like we've got some. Oh yeah, so Megan Rapinoe is a leading voice for equal pay. So because women's football, I mean, not because it hasn't been around for as long, but because just the way it is, women's players are so critically underpaid. Approximately, so the average salaries for men in the Premier League in England is like 17,000% more than the women's players in England, which is so incredibly wrong. And yes, it is discriminatory. But yeah, it's really like very, very sad. I saw something somewhere, I think I had looked it up, where like the average the average salary for players in Spain was like 25,000 euros a year, which no one can live off of.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure like a lot of these players probably have like multiple jobs, so they're not just like playing professional football, which is a full-time job, but they probably have other full-time jobs that they have to do.
Yep.
Which is really tough, and it's really sad.
Yeah. Well, we were watching the show Welcome to Wrexham, and they were talking about the Wrexham women's team and how one of their best players was also a prison guard. So
yeah, I mean that's tough.
Yeah.
And that's because that one they also don't even have a fully professional team.
Right.
Because a lot of countries they don't even have like women's football isn't fully professional. It's semi-pro, but they're still playing about as many games as the professional teams are.
Yes. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So I think we're getting more notes. Oh yeah, so the women's teams don't. Well, that's actually not 100% true. They mostly don't.
So.
Yeah, women don't get the sponsorships the way the men do, which is not 100% true. There are a lot of companies that will sponsor like women players, but yeah, they don't get the same kind of treatment that the men do with these sponsorships.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but
it is.
Yeah, so hopefully I'm hoping we'll see a change. But I know I think it was David Beckham that was talking recently about how he wants he's hoping and he's pushing for equal pay in the women's teams as well.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunately because they have to wait for a male player to say hey, this isn't okay for them to actually do anything about it.
Yeah, I think that Denmark as a country, the men and women's teams have banded together to push for equal pay.
Yeah.
There, so they're kind of a leader in that area as well.
Yeah. So here's to hoping that other teams will start to see women's football being treated the same way that men's football is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm good. You good?
Yeah. We're good. Very good.
So
fun.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to Football Friday, and don't forget to check out our regular weekly episodes of Wine Together. If you want to join the conversation, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok @WineTogetherPod.